So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the 5th Parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. In January 2022, something really amazing happened. More than 72,000 teenagers applied to become a member of parliament of the world's first exclusive parliament of teenagers. Out of these 72,000 teens, top 100 teenagers from all across the world became the members of parliament of the World Teen Parliament. These 100 MPs secured more than 235,610 votes to be a part of this parliament. This parliament aims to tell teenagers that how does a democracy work, and wants them and encourages them to experiment with it and make and take decisions that they think are right for them. And we ask all the adults and elders in their life to empower them so much that they become a stakeholder and a recognized stakeholder in policy making. The belief at the World Teen Parliament is pretty simple. If you are a social entrepreneur, only then you should be a policy maker. So all these teen MPs are right now working on different ideas on the way that they think they can improve the world. So today, in this 5th parliamentary session, we again have two amazing personalities with us who will be sharing their experience and answering the questions of our members of parliament and trying to understand from them that can a teenager really interact with governments and for the purpose of the betterment of laws. Because when we talk of legislation, it is something that's too rigid. But when we get somebody who's super experienced in the judiciary wing of things, and we get somebody who's super experienced in the school division of things, let's try to know from them that do teenagers really have the power to influence anything in a democracy? Thank you so much once again for joining us today, this evening. Let me introduce to you the first guest for today, and I'm very thankful for him for taking out the time and being here with us. Let me give him his introduction to all of you. We have with us today Mr. Pradeep Rai, who's a senior advocate and vice president of the Supreme Court Bar Association of India. The Supreme Court is the apex court of India. Mr. Rai is also the chairman of various subcommittees of the Supreme Court Bar Association, including the E-Committee of Supreme Court Bar Association. Mr. Rai has over 2 decades of standing at the bar in the Supreme Court of India, various high courts, commissions, regulatory bodies, and tribunals. He has experience in litigation across a wide spectrum of civil, criminal, revenue, and constitutional issues. Mr. Rai represents the Union of India, along with many states, including Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Bihar, and Andhra Pradesh. He has represented various top corporate houses, celebrities, film stars, politicians, and chief ministers. Mr. Rai is also the chairman of India Legal Aid Center and the chairman of the India Legal Research Foundation. He was the former vice chairman of National Anti-Doping Agency, which is the premier organization under Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports for promoting, coordinating, and monitoring doping control in all the sports in India. Mr. Rai has a deep-seated passion for access to justice. He has closely worked with the former Chief Justices of India and has worked a lot on strengthening human rights conditions across India. Today, he'll be talking to these teenagers and teen MPs on how does he think that a teenager can play some relevant or meaningful role in a democracy when we talk about legislation. Can a teenager really ask the government to create a law? If they can do so, how can they do so? If they cannot, what should they be doing so that they get this right? Thank you so much, Pradeep sir, for joining us. Over to you for the next 3 to 7 minutes, where you give your introduction and opening remark, and then we'll go into the question hour. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Daksh Gaur, and this founder of Well Products and World Teen Parliament, and Mr. Raghav Podar, and all the participants who are present here and who are listening to us. You see, any teen, if they are in the joint family or singular family, they have rights sometimes more than the parents possess, because parents are controlled by the teens. If you all recall, you know that no parents can say no to any of the teen, because I am also father of a girl, I am father of a boy, and if they say something, we can't say no. That is the family part. That is the part whether this family institution is covered. But as far as law is concerned, even if you see the portals of Government of India, if you see the portals of Supreme Court, sometimes the kids or teens, they write letters to the Supreme Court of India, and those letters have been entertained. And not only entertained, but actually the orders were passed, like opening up the school, even COVID reliefs, sometimes even sports facilities, sometimes even facilities of even attending classes, many other things. Whatever you feel like even right to health, right to education, sometimes your rights against the atrocities. There are National Child Commission in India. They also look after the several aspects of children rights. But ultimately, if you are an aware teen, if you know your rights, if you know that what is right and what is wrong, then your rights become more relevant. And you don't need to do too many things to know what is right and what is wrong. Just think once, keep your hand on your heart, and you ask yourself whether you are doing something that is right or wrong. If you feel it's right, then 100% you have some rights. And if you have something which is not right, and if somebody is doing which is not legal or not right, you can complain. Your letters are given prominence. Sometimes you feel that there should be exemption on the text of children. Recently, Government of India considered two letters written by the teenagers who had good income, because normally the tax slab is highest tax slab is 30 to 33% in India. So kids wrote that, why you are charging that much to us? We are doing other things and we are contributing to the economy, so you give us some relief. And those government is considering those reliefs. So it's not that the kids, if the teens they write something, it is not considered. And I personally feel that nowadays teens are no more teens. Just it's an old saying, now the teens know too many things, which is actually a kind of great contribution to the society, to the family. They can sometimes guide you, and they know more. Like even in my Instagram or my this LinkedIn, my kids, they know better than me. They guide me how to deal with it. Sometimes they tell me that this is what you should do, this is how, this is the hashtag, not this one. So your expertise is different. And every time, every 5 to 6 years, the new generation is coming. They are more aware, they are more powerful to the technology. Next generation will be time of artificial intelligence. Next generation will be time where you are can talk to someone on phone, and the person can be physically present before you, even if he is sitting 1,000 miles away from you. Even Japan is trying to do that. Recently, I was there. I saw 2 3 programs on which, if you just dial someone, you can virtually feel that yes, the person is taking hand, that you have just wear a gloves. So many things are happening, and ultimately, you people are more friendly and aware of technology. You have more learning capacity. Only one thing I request, that don't take that much pressure that you should just you forget yourself in that. Your humanity should be there. You make friends, you talk to each other, you just exchange your ideas, don't have any enmity. And sometimes I feel that teens are very reasonable. So as far as law is concerned, constitutional rights are concerned, kids have everything. I feel that if you write something which sounds sense, no government can say no to it, either of any country, even if it is a dictatorial country. So India is a democracy, many other countries may not be democracy. But even then, if the teens say something, they have to consider it. And you see that teens in any family, they are the master of the family indirectly. In our Hindu law and all, we say Karta is the head of the family, who is the main person. But indirectly, kids control everything. So you all, I feel that you all can contribute much more in the society. You all, whatever you write, that can be considered. You can suggest on many things, like even protection of children rights. You can suggest some other sections if you feel that here your rights are being violated, and especially in the psychological thing, because nowadays we have seen that many kids, because of some expectation or some other pressure, they go to depression. Sometimes because of their non-performance, parents go to depression. This also happens. Sometimes they are not eating properly and parents are feeling something, that why they are not eating and they are sick or whatever. So you can actually ask for proper facilities. You can ask for anything which is in for the development of yours. You can ask everything. And in my opinion, that any teen who is educated, if you are not educated, your right to education will come, and you can always ask for the education. Recently, some Joggi Jhopadis in Delhi, they wrote letter to Chief Minister, and Delhi Chief Minister provided teachers to them. Not only here, but in other states also, if you write something, government considers. But in my opinion, if you all are, because most of you are educated, you all are MPs, and I feel your heart is more pure than any of the actual politician. You decide completely in the interest of your constituency. Your constituency is not for some benefit and all. You genuinely feel so. So your feelings are more important. And I salute you all. And I salute Mr. Daksh Gaur, who has organized this kind of program, not only once, but consequently. This is the fifth time. So I really congratulate you. This is a great opportunity you are giving to the children. They are learning actually, and that learning doesn't come easy. It comes by hard way. And hard work is must. Your whatever field you select, it is must. Like you are a good player, you need stadiums, you need some sports facilities. For that also you should demand. And the moment you demand, I am sure you will get it. There are several petitions where without any legal guardian, because normally under 18 we don't consider the person is major, but despite that the court has considered their petitions, their letters, and they have granted good reliefs. So you all are entitled to have anything whatever you desire. And anyway, you all, for sky is the limit for you all. You all are going to grow like anything. Mr. Daksh, I really appreciate your hard work, your this concept. This concept is really a great concept in which you have assembled, you have actually united many students, and we can actually see many of them as our real parliamentarians. And when they become parliamentarians, they will never forget the actual Rashtrapita, that is Daksh Gaur. So in these words, I say thanks to you all. And if there are any question round and whatever, I am here. I am available to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pradeep sir. And I think you have very nicely ensured these teenagers that if they really have a demand, they can place it there and people will be listening to them. So before I actually invite the next speaker, there's one thing that I would, rather want to ask you before we move ahead. If a teenager wants to interact with the judiciary, with the government, what kind of people should a teenager trust and whom should he not trust?
You see, any person who is in the official capacity, whose name is on the website, if you know that this person is genuinely authorized to deal with the problems or issues given by you. Sometimes, like on Prime Minister's portal, if you write an email, there is an officer, OST, he calls you back or he sends you an email. He authorizes some person by an email, you have the number. If that person is talking to you, obviously you have to trust. If you are writing a letter to the Chief Justice of India and they have listed the matter in courts, obviously it will be in the newspapers. But if you get a proper communication and matter is listed, and you can check it from the website of Supreme Court that your matter is listed, this is what your concern was and this is being considered, then obviously you have to trust. But if some strange person is calling, then obviously you all know better than us, because I feel that when it is to the on this believing or non-believing comes, they teens are better than us, because you see many social media handles on which I am there. Recently I joined 7-8 months back, but I feel that my office juniors who are even younger, they are 18, 19, 21, 25, they know better than us. They can guide us, and their guidance is sometimes very important. So you have to trust those who are officially designated, and you have to believe them if they are genuinely addressing your problem. Only one thing I request, that be patient and demand only those things which can be fulfilled. Because if you are demanding something, be practical. First of all, you think that whether it can be done or not. If you are applying your mind, working very hard on the particular demand, then obviously you have to work hard. You have to apply your mind. And then you have to see that what is the situation in other countries and what is the status of your country, what is the limitations. And thereafter, when you demand, I am sure that by the power of yours, it will be fulfilled, it will be done. And there is a 100% possibility of success. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. So I think always try to understand the trail of authority, from where it comes to whom it is given and how does the communication finally come to you. So thank you so much, Pradeep sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today for the introductory address, and then we'll go into the question answer round. Let me introduce the next speaker. He comes with a very profound experience in the field of school education. He's a fine blend of global thinking and Indian values. Mr. Raghav Podar is a path-breaking educationist and a thought leader on constructing optimal learning environments. He has studied the education systems of Finland, Singapore, UK, and Australia. He has been vested heavily into upgrading the quality of schooling in India. His trainings, presentations, and workshops on aligning digital transformation with 21st century skills are keenly sought across schools, conferences, and ministries in Australia, Spain, and the UK. He makes a strong distinction between educationist-run schools and businessmen-led schools, and also personally supports the Beti Padhao and Beti Bachao Yojana as well as the Tata Memorial's Impact Foundation that focuses on children's cancer treatment for the poor. He has recently been at the forefront of relief efforts for the poorest of poor affected by the COVID lockdown across India. His contribution to the field of education and society is commendable, and he has been bestowed with many awards for his contributions in the field of education and nation building, including. He is also an honorable advisor to the World Teen Parliament and has been hand-holding us in creating this platform where we could empower teenagers to really influence and impact policies across the world. A very warm welcome, Raja sir. Over to you for your introductory address.
Thank you, and namaste, Daksh, and to Dr. Rai as well, and most of all to all the wonderful smiling children. So wonderful to see the cameras on of the children who have them on. And I must say that a couple of them especially are looking so smart. Chinmay Joshi, I love your suit. You're looking so smart with your tie. You've come fully prepared for this. Wonderful. There were a few more that I saw, but now those tiles are moved away from my screen, so I don't remember their names. But so good to be addressing students as always. A very pertinent topic put up by Daksh once again. I'm so happy that he is doing this. First of all, dear children, understand that y'all are already in a very small group, a niche group of the top 100 out of 72,000. So kudos to you for that, first of all. And it's extremely important and very good that you are so bright, talented, brimming with potential. But what you do with this potential is what really matters. Because, my dear children, in the 21st century, the world economy will not reward you for how much you know or amount of knowledge that you have, but how you can apply the knowledge that you have. Not for how much you know, but for what you can do with what you know. So I want you to go out and change this world for the better. Now, on the topic of how can teenagers interact with the government for better laws, can they do it? Of course they can. I'm going to give you 4 points that you must keep in mind when you are trying to approach the government or a senior leader to try to better the laws or to improve the laws. My first point of advice to you is be a solution seeker and not a problem finder. In this world, there are too many problem finders. There are too many people out there who are armchair critics or social media critics who just want to criticize. You're never going to really get the ear of a senior leader, a lawyer, a legal person, or even a lawmaker if you are not coming up with some solutions as well. Be constructive. Don't just be an armchair critic. If you're going to meet a lawmaker, appreciate their good work also. It's important that they also are appreciated for what they do. Otherwise, it's too easy to just do government bashing, the politician bashing. Don't get into that spiral. Go with a positive mindset rather than being a negative person. If you're going in with negativity, your chances of achieving much are quite low. My next point of advice to you is tenacity. You have to be tenacious. Don't lose hope if you don't succeed at first. If you really want to make headway, you have to be tenacious. You have to keep knocking on that door. Now, lawmakers are very generally very busy people. And when you have a meeting with them, you have to value their time. So you have to be crisp, to the point, and your elevator pitch should be perfect. What is elevator pitch? It's your 1 minute, your first 1 minute that you spend with this big leader. If you can gain their attention and interest in the first 1 minute, you're in a much stronger chance of being taken seriously. Otherwise, for a lot of people in high positions, in the first 1 minute or so, they'll gauge whether they're going to be intellectually engaged with what your proposal is, or they're just going to patronize you for trying hard, but really not take you seriously. So important that you're tenacious. Your first 1 minute has to be intellectually engaging for them. Also realize that if you are trying to make a point to the lawmaker and they're not agreeing to it, you have to understand that the government has to cater to all sections of the society and do what is best, keeping in mind for every strata, every socioeconomic group, and not only your style of thinking. I'll give you an example. In our school in Santa Cruz in Mumbai, there was actually in the government in Mumbai, they had done a program where they wanted corporates to adopt one railway station, any one railway station, and to renovate it, to give it that uplift look, improved look. So one of the kids of the school of R.N. Podar school in Mumbai came and said that, why should it only be corporates? Why can't us school children be the ones who are sitting and revamping these railway stations? That was a good idea. So we took it up to the authorities, to the government authorities, and they said, are you sure your kids will be able to do it? He said, give them a try. They said, fine, we'll give them a try. Those kids came up with this big business plan. They had a full committee. They had a SWOT analysis, all of that done, beautiful planning. And they went and spoke to the authority and he said, no, this is not, you haven't understood the requirement. He rejected it first time, thinking, now these kids won't come back. They came back with a new plan after a week and said, sir, you gave us one opportunity, hear us again. We understood your requirement better. Now look at this plan. It was a much improved plan. They said, yes, no problem. It's still not perfect. You need to work on 0.5, 6, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And again, work on it and come back. The kids, by being tenacious, got that opportunity from the government to totally revamp the Santa Cruz railway station. Now imagine the matter of pride. Every car that passes by the very busy thoroughfare of Santa Cruz in Mumbai is seeing the station that has been done by these students. The level of pride and confidence and upliftment it gives you that you are the one who's doing it, when other big companies of the world, big companies of India are the other ones doing it, and you're still considered good, that gives you a fillip, a boost for your life. So be tenacious. That's extremely important. The next one, self-belief. I cannot emphasize this much more. You have to approach with belief, conviction in your ideas if you want to be taken seriously. If you don't have belief in your own ideas, then don't expect the listener to have any. Don't go in thinking, I'm just a kid, I'm just a teenager, I'm overawed by all of this. How will it happen? How will they listen to me? I mean, I'm not, I'm not some big CEO, I'm not some big person. You are as big a person as you feel you are. And I'm not saying big in terms of be arrogant about it, be humble, but have self-belief, have self-confidence, faith, trust in your own abilities, in your own potential, in your own talents. You all might have heard of Adit Palicha or Kaivalya Vora, the founders of Zepto. They're teenagers, and Zepto, this delivery app, is now worth $900 million. It's almost a unicorn. These kids are 18, 19, just like some of you out here. So don't think that you can't do it. Go it with lots of self-belief. My next point, fourth point, is wheelbarrow. So I said you have to be a solution seeker, not a problem finder. Be tenacious, self-belief, and I'm saying wheelbarrow. Now I can see some faces wondering, like, wheelbarrow, what do you mean? Like, that's not even an adjective. What do you mean wheelbarrow? Well, I'll tell you a little story, then maybe you'll get why I'm saying wheelbarrow. In 1859, about 170, 180 years ago, there was this man, he was called Blondin. The great Blondin, they called him. Anyone's heard of Blondin? Or generally, when I do this with kids especially, they are so fast on their Google, they'll go and Google, who is this Blondin? Anyways, Blondin, by the way, is the man who invented the High Wire Act. The tightrope act, when you climb across, when you go across one point to another on that rope. So he announced to the entire world that he intended to cross the Niagara Falls on a tightrope. 5,000 people from across the world, including the Prince of Wales, gathered to watch. He started his thing nervously. He went ahead, and he stopped himself midway, right in the middle of the Niagara Falls on the tightrope, steadied himself, backflipped into the air, landed squarely on the rope, and continued safely on the other side. During that year, Blondin crossed the falls again and again. Once he did it blindfolded, another time carrying a stove, once in chains, and once on a bicycle. Just as he was about to begin yet another crossing, this time pushing a wheelbarrow, he turned to the crowd and shouted, "Who believes that I can cross pushing this wheelbarrow?" And every hand in the crowd went up. Of course, he had done it on a bicycle. He had done it in chains on a stove. He had taken a backflip and done it. What's crossing with a wheelbarrow for the great Blondin? Every hand in the crowd went up. So Blondin pointed at one man. Do you, sir, believe that I can do it? Said, yes, I believe you can. Are you certain? Said Blondin. Yes, I'm certain. Of course, I'm certain. 100% certain. Thank you, sir, said Blondin. Then, sir, get into the wheelbarrow. Now, like that man in the crowd, you know a lot of things. But also like that man, there will be times in your life, young leaders, when knowing things won't matter as much as how scary the situation is. And when that happens, you'll have to decide whether or not to get into the wheelbarrow. There is going to come a time in your life when, in order to succeed, you will have to trust, when you will have to make a big leap of faith. And when that time comes, I hope you will swallow your fear and get into that wheelbarrow. You know, I ask people, what's your favorite animal? Daksh, what's your favorite animal? And generally people are like, wait, what favorite animal? Like, how did that even come? People talk about, you know, favorite car or favorite phone these days. What's your favorite animal, Daksh?
Mine is an elephant.
Elephant, lovely. Why?
I like the grandeur and the size.
Wow, beautiful. I'm going to take something totally opposite of the elephant, or very different in size at least. My favorite animal is the turtle. Now, everyone I ask, I tell people this turtle is my favorite animal. And they're like, turtle, seriously? Nobody's favorite animal is a turtle. Like, people might enjoy the lion or the tiger or the cheetah for being so fast, or the elephant or the leopard or the dog. Now, the reason why I say my favorite animal is a turtle is that in order for the turtle to move ahead, it has to stick its neck out. My dear students, there are going to be times in your life when you're going to have to stick your neck out. There will be challenges, and instead of hiding in a shell, you're going to have to go out and meet them. Dear young leaders, this is your century. So take it and run as if your life depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raghav sir, for your address. Now it's time for the MPs to interact with you, question you, take answers from you, and try to figure out that can they really influence laws and governments into doing something that teenagers want. Over to you. The question hour begins now.
Good morning, sir. My name is and I'm from school. I'm an MP in the World Teen Parliament. My question is for. Is my sound correct? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, please.
We can hear you.
I'm really sorry. Good evening to all of you. I'm Shivansh Kumar Raj from Alcon International School. My question is to Mr. Pradeep Rai, sir. Sir, at the World Teen Parliament, our group has currently selected the topic of climate change, and we wish to propose some solutions to the government formally. How can we make sure that our solutions are politically correct? Because sometimes the interests of climate go against the political interests, and socially too. Because sometimes we see that if we...
Brother, your voice is breaking. I think I did not hear the first part of your question.
Sir, I said that our group at the World Teen Parliament has selected topic of climate change, and we wish to propose some solutions to the government formally. How can we make sure that our solutions are politically, because politically, socially, and economically viable? Because politically, that's why, because sometimes the climate interests go against the political interests, and socially, because we see if we implement some solutions, they will affect various social groups like Dalits, Adivasis, etc. And also economically viable if we, let's say, ban cars in just one day. There's going to be a lot of unemployment suddenly. So how do we how can we make sure that our solutions are politically, socially, and economically viable, considering the incredible diversity of India, and also some of our solutions might go against some political interests.
You see, most of the environmental matters, they fall in the purview of National Green Tribunal in India. Even if you want to construct a road, you have to fell down the trees and all. Even you have to cut down the mountains or some earthwork, or even if you want to construct a four laning of different highways. Recently, we have seen that there was four laning of Nainital to this China border, across the China border, and then up to the Mizoram and Meghalaya. All these roads were constructed. So the NGT had actually granted an stay. Finally, when NGT lifted the stay, Supreme Court granted an stay. So many factors which are being considered, it is the purview of National Green Tribunal. Similarly, I am happy to share with you that one teen only, a 18-year-old boy, he has filed a petition objecting Saifai Airport, that was in Etawah, near Agra, in UP, near place of Taj Mahal. So he objected that there is already an airport in Agra, and the moment you construct a new airport operational in Saifai, there will be a lot of this environmental hazard. And not only this, but also it will be bad for the birds. And thereafter, court actually stayed the operation of the airport for at least 7 years, until they considered everything together, and then they decided that yes, it can be granted. So sometimes governments, they want to do too many things, but actually they cannot do at the cost of environment. We are also signatories of various bird treaties in which the environment factor is very important. But not only this, even our citizens and our judges and our communities, they are also very much aware that how to deal with this. As far as tribal areas are concerned, you know that most of the tribal areas, they fall in the 6th schedule of the Constitution. 6th schedule means they are completely protected. Like our lands are actually completely in the hands of government. If they want to acquire it in public interest, they can acquire. But if you want to acquire a land of a tribal, then tribals are the owner of the land. Then you can't acquire those lands. Even if there are some gold mine inside, even if there are some oil, even coals, they have complete rights of the land, below the land and above the land. Whatever there is, that is completely the rights of the tribals. So tribals' rights are completely protected. As far as environment is concerned, there are too many factors work, but if you feel somewhere that something is happening which is not appropriate, then 100% you should challenge it. You should write a letter or you should file a petition. Whatever you do, it will be considered. Most of the cases, if there are environmental issues and genuine concerns are raised, NGT considers it. So I don't feel that completely only because of social or economical factor or governance factor or political factors, they can do everything. There are several important other factors which has to be considered.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Raghav Podar, influencer, Ayan Banerjee. Ayan Banerjee.
Hello everyone. I'm Tanishka Chandrakant Sarankar from grade 10th MIT VGS Pandipur. I'm an influencer and my question is to Mr. Pradeep Rai. Have you ever come across any case related to education or students which made you realize that betterment of laws is needed?
Your question is to Mr. Podar or?
Sir, Mr. Pradeep Rai.
Yes. Again, can you repeat it again?
So my question is that, have you ever come across any case which is related to education or students which made you realize that betterment of laws is needed?
You see, our laws are very much clear on certain aspects. There are directive principles in our constitution in which right to education was there, but it was not implemented. Ultimately, Government of India brought this act and right to education is a reality now. But the equal opportunity, that part is there where the law has to work on, because all the kids don't have equal opportunity. Someone may be studying at top colleges, somebody may be studying in the colleges which is the substandard in the eyes of others. Like in US, you find that even community colleges are completely allotted on the basis of your residence. Wherever you reside, in that area, a school is allocated to you. Though private schools are there, but the level of government colleges or government public educational institutions are also very good. Like in Kendriya Vidyalayas, in our country, or Navodaya Vidyalaya, they are also equally good. But everybody can't get admission. In KB, admission is very difficult. Every year, even I try to get some admission for the lawyers who have come to Delhi to practice. I try to get admission in 300-400 admissions. We have to work whole year to get these 300-400 admissions for the lawyers. It's very difficult. So what I feel that there should be equal opportunity and at least the equal level of the education available to each and everyone. It is, in my view, more important than reservation. Because when you give equal education to everyone, the personality development is there, then it can be there. And some petitions were filed, 2 and 3 petitions are pending also before the Supreme Court. Some of the high courts are also considering, including Chennai High Court, in which they have actually want government's response that how to deal with the issue where the equal educational opportunities can be granted. Like a government servant who is serving the government, their children are being educated for even paying 25 rupees a month in Kendriya Vidyalayas. But there are many who can't have any income, who are below poverty line. They don't get even admission. Their kids are not even have access to the basic primary education. So that is the big issue. And there are possibilities of laws and the court has to rule it. But ultimately, if a government decides, that is much better. I appreciate in Delhi, we have seen the Delhi government schools are in much better position now. Because after one minister has decided that we have to improve the facilities, they have improved it. Mr. Podar is doing a wonderful job. He has done a lot of activities in the educational institutions, and he has actually given he is a guiding force for many youngsters. So if the people like Mr. Podar, people like other youngsters, they come forward and they create a module in which support of teens are there, that we want to be educated, we want these facilities, then 100% it will be considered. And there are possibilities of laws. Right to education is also from the demands raised by teens like you only. So from there it has originated. The provision was there. B.R. Ambedkar, late Baba Sahib, he also made a provision that right to education is there, but that was in directive principle, not binding. Now right to education is the binding. And in that circumstances, if you all raise an issue, it will be considered 100%. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tanishka. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. I'm Preetham Sivalingam, a class 10 student from Delhi Public School, Bangalore East. My question is to Dr. Pradeep Rai. In the current era, digital age, we have so much exposure as teenagers ourselves that we are in a well-poised situation to take decisions. But to bring it to government, right, what should be our first point of contact?
Your voice is breaking. Last part again, I could not hear.
Sorry, sir, I was telling, who should we contact in order to get our suggestions to light?
In order to get suggestions of?
Sir, in order to get our suggestions noticed by the government.
Can you repeat the complete question again?
So who should we contact to get our suggestions noticed by the government?
If you want to suggest, the government should notice. Who can notice this? This is what you want to ask?
Yes, sir.
You want to raise an issue which should be noticed by the government. Who is there to notice it? Like this? So in my opinion, if you write something, any letter written to the government has a specific file number. Any government, not only this Indian government, any government. It was system developed by the Britishers. and that file number is actually marked for a specific purpose. And your subject, if you are writing a letter without any subject, then it may misplace. But if you are writing a letter with a letter number and then the subject mentioned there, that for what you are writing in the letter itself, then that letter will be considered, that letter file number will be there, and you are bound to get a response. There is a specific provision of RTI, you all know that, you all can exercise that, and under RTI you will find that what is the response of your letter if the government is not responding to you. But mostly they respond. If you are just writing a letter, in most of the cases you will get a response that may be positive, negative, or just a mere formality, but you will get the response. And that's how many of our students, many of our teachers, many of our citizens, they are exercising the rights under RTI. RTI is a good thing. If you write a letter with the subject number, it will be placed before the appropriate authority. Recently, I have received certain communications, even our Supreme Court received, and they forwarded it to us for different demands. Even these students who are the first year law after this intermediate, they in the first year, I think they are hardly 18, 19 years old. So they are in the category of teens only. So they write letters, it comes to us and we respond to them. So it's completely, if you write something, 100% you will get a response. I don't feel nowadays it's email time. So if you send a mail, you will get a response. Many of the students, they send me even on Insta or this other social medias, they also get response. Sometimes my office responds, sometimes I respond personally. So 100% you are bound to get a response.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Sir, I'll be asking the question on behalf of Devansh Agarwal, who's in 10th of Delhi Public School, Chandigarh. His question was to Mr. Raghav Podar. Am I audible, sir? Yes, sir. So he asks, what are the major problems that we face in India in the field of education, and what has been the role of Podar education to solve these issues?
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Shivansh, and also for saying it on behalf of, I think you said Devansh. By the way, Shivansh, you're also looking very, very smart with your beautiful suit and tie. Lovely question about what are the issues ailing the Indian education system. I'd like to take your question a little bit more macro. So it's not only the Indian education system, but the Asian education systems. What is the most favorite thing that the Indian education system is chasing? We have an education system that is anachronistic, that is not anyways in time with the times. What is it that we're all chasing, especially all of you in the 10th and 12th? Come Feb, March, Jan, we're all chasing these holy grail of marks, tests, scores. Now, what are tests? What are scores? What are marks? Tests are meant to be diagnostic. They are meant to diagnose the strengths and the weaknesses of the child so that the teacher can adjust her lesson delivery accordingly. Yet, in our country and a lot of Asian countries, the test has become a way to put a label on a student's forehead. So if you get 98 or 99 or 97, you get this label on your forehead called genius. And if you get like a 75 or 80, these days it's called average. In my time, 75, 80 was it was very good. Now, there are certain words like duffer and all used if a child gets 40 or 50. Who gives anyone that right to give these labels to the students on the basis of what they got in their marks on a test? What do these tests measure? For a large part, most of these tests are a measure of your ability to memorize better and regurgitate better. So if you got, say, 95 and somebody else got, say, 70, it tells me that you can memorize and regurgitate better. But in the 21st century, are children going to need better memorization capacities? You already have Google on your fingertips. With the swipe of a screen, you have access to limitless information. So let's say there's another child who can memorize as much as a mini encyclopedia. You're still never going to know more than Google Baba. By the time you kids grow up, you all will be auto-prompted with AI and other technologies with the information that you'll need to complete your next task. And yet, as an education system, we are running behind the ability to memorize and regurgitate better. What is the purpose that parents send their children to schools in? It should be so that they can maximize their inherent potential, excel at what they are best in. However, for a very large percentage of the education system of India, parents are sending their children to schools to get into the best college. What do you need to get into the best college? The highest marks. What are those marks measuring? Memorization, rote learning, and regurgitation. So it's a vicious circle that we are moving in under. If that is what is going to be valued, then that is what everyone is going to run behind. As I said, in the 21st century, the world economy will not reward you for how much you know, but for what you can do with what you know. Not for the amount of knowledge that you have, but for how you apply the knowledge that you have. Application-based learning, project-based learning, experiential learning. This is the quality of learning. And what Daksh has given you this platform, World Teen Parliament, these are the kind of skills that we need to develop in our 21st century learners that you all are going to need to tackle your life's challenges head on, not only the ability to memorize and regurgitate. So a lot of things that are ailing the Indian education system, but I must say the government, the different boards of education, the national boards of education are very progressive thinking. They have noticed these things and are trying to change the focus from content mastery to competence mastery. How competent are you rather than what content do you know? So a lot of changes to be done, but one step at a time. And I'm sure you kids will take the future much, much brighter with the kind of skills that you all are developing through this entire journey of the World Teen Parliament.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, good evening, sir. My name is Gurjit Singh Chadha, and I am from Mayur School, Noida, Uttar Pradesh. I am an MP in the World Teen Parliament. My question is to Mr. Pradeep Rai. Sir, in your many years as an illustrious advocate, what do you believe is more important to get to reach our goals? Compassion and intuition, or rules and discipline? Sir, you're on mute.
Yes. So, brother, Mr. Chadda, rules and compassion is one thing, but that is made by the society, made by with the to manage the society. And man is a social animal, but at the same time, we can say that sometimes he is social and sometimes he is animal, because they behave differently at different times. So actually, when you are passionate about something, you will do it. If you are not passionate, you will not do it. Rules are made for something which is just to control everyone, because most of the humans, they behave differently. Everybody is not same. Sometimes even in our justice system, we feel that different genders, different backgrounds, that also affects the system of justice delivery. Like suppose I give you a problem, and your thought process and the thought process of another girl or another classmate, and maybe your peon in the college, maybe your driver, that may be different. For the same problem, the solution may be different. So you cannot be bound in rules, but rules is only to regulate, at least for the masses. In my opinion, if you are not doing something illegal, you should be compensate, and you should also be working for the betterment of your personality, of the society, of your other skills. So those things matter. At the same time, hard work and everything is there. Rule is also actually important. But if you are actually focusing on your personality, and that specifically with considering the views of others, then it will be very relevant.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nishi Jaiswal, and I am a student of class 12 from Central Academy, Senior Secondary School, Barabanki, Uttar Pradesh. I am one of the members of World Teen Parliament. So my question is to Mr. Raghav Podar, sir. Sir, what is your opinion regarding the grading system in India? How does it affect the students? Is it good or is it bad?
Thank you so much for that question, Mishti, and congratulations for being a member of the World Teen Parliament. I think I already answered that for a large part. The grading system is purely centered around that holy grail of marks, which doesn't really measure what the children need in their lives. In the 21st century, the life skills that y'all are going to need of critical thinking, collaboration, teamwork, the ability to cope with limited resources. We went through a big pandemic, and then we had all these limited resources that we had to manage and thrive under. And there were people who thrived even in the pandemic, who knew how to take out the best even from the toughest situation. They say that, this pandemic brought a lot of adversity and tragedy and catastrophe. It brought all of that, but it also brought opportunity. Now, they say that every challenge is an opportunity, but it's only a great opportunity if you make use of it. So it's important that the grading system or the mark system, let that be a secondary thing. You need to focus on your skill building, which is critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, teamwork, being able to communicate effectively. That's one of the things I feel that Indian students sometimes, not anymore, but more in my time, were not as good effective communicators or negotiators or persuaders, or to be able to put their point through, but were very good with technical knowledge. That is changing, and it needs to change more. So focus on life skills, 21st century ready skills, the ones that you will really require to tackle the life's challenges, rather than just running behind marks because it's a rat race and everyone else is doing it. Don't do it out of FOMO.
Thank you so much, sir.
A very good evening to both the incredible personalities here. This is Aditi Srivastava of grade 10th A of St. Amar Jaipuria School Bansal campus, Sitapur Road, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. So my question is to Pradeep Rai sir, and it goes, so what is your piece of advice or brief guidance to law aspirants, and how do you think the World Teen Parliament would aid them in their journey?
You see, any one of you, if you are aspiring to pursue the career in law, anyway, every citizen has to face it, because there are laws from when you take birth till when you die, or even after your death. So if you give a will, or if you give some kind of property, whatever, that those liabilities, those assets are remain there. In the entire life, you will find that some laws or something is there. Something is controlled, education institute are controlled by UGC, something is controlled by education department, something by bar council, something by medical council, then your transfer rules, service rules, environment, green tribunals, the consumer affairs, whatever you do, law, it's covered in law. So in my opinion, even if you don't pursue law as a career, you should know the law. So each and every student, if you have an opportunity to actually study law, you must study. And suppose you are a doctor, even then you require certain laws, certain surgeries, whatever, because most of the cases you fall in the ambit of law. 99.99%. Only mother-son relations when it's completely, when the child is small, sometimes it doesn't fall. But mostly it is covered in the law. So in my opinion, if you pursue this career, it's very good. And you should pursue with the focus that what you want to do. Like somebody among you only ask about the environment. They can work on environment laws, somebody for consumers law, somebody can work for service matters, someone may work for medical and other aspects, somebody for taxation. So different branches are there, whatever branch you are interested. Even somebody can work in the movies, like this contract and all, the stars and all, somebody for the sports law. So many things are there. So it's completely up to you. And my piece of advice is that I am not educated from a convent school. I have studied from a village, and I have studied up to class 8 under a tree, where there was no building. Only one teacher was available for class 1 to class 8. So if I can do something, I believe that each one of you can do much, much better than us. Much, much better. And you all will achieve everything in your life. Because if you are serious, I am from UP only. So you are from Lucknow, but I am from UP and from a place where even you will not find. Nowadays, their buildings are there, but there was no building at all because it was a flood affected area and the flood of Gandak. So you know that is every year, everything was thus washed away. Everything was demolished, whatever you construct. So if I can do from there, if I can come to Delhi and I can do something, I believe each one of you can achieve everything in your life. So this is a good profession, noble profession. And the beauty of this profession is when you want to work, you work. When you don't want to work, you can take adjournments. You can request the court. You can even take an off for 6-7 months. You can go to any other university. So many options are there. But if you want to pursue, you must pursue. Even if you don't want to pursue, you are in some other field, even then you have to do it. Like this Army Appellate Tribunal, if you are interested in armed forces, again, you have to read the laws of related to those services. Similarly, even if you are in government service, there are law departments and everything is there. So each and every aspect, each and every interest is covered under law. In my opinion, if you ask me, I am a brand ambassador, so I will always say that you all should pursue law. But even if you are not interested, it's my personal advice as my own kids that you must read law books and you must know something. Basic idea should be there.
My father also has a similar opinion as you. He's also a lawyer, and he says that you got to know the law wherever you go. It is like the base of everything. So that's really good, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Carla Torrecosta. I am in 10th grade and I am from the Episcopal School in Almanza, Albacete. And I first want to thank you for your speech because it was very inspiring. And my first question is, how did you know that your calling was for studying law? Because I can tell that it is a very sensitive subject to study and you can go many different ways when you study law. So I would like to know a little bit more of your path while studying. Thank you, sir.
You want to know more about law, or you want to know more about the study of law?
I want to know why you study law.
Okay, about me. You see, if you ask me, I had tried too many things. I did MA in history, I did journalism, and then I was teaching history in university. Thereafter, I started my career as journalist, and I was anchoring for the television. I did some good programs, and finally I realized, and then civil services. I qualified for civil services. I will tell you one very small incident in my life which brought me to this profession. When I was preparing, I was lecturer, I thought that police officers are very powerful. They can misbehave with anyone. That is their right. And administrative officers are also under control because they all have to go, no, please pass this and grant this thing, that thing. So I thought that is a very powerful service and I should go for that. So then I started studying for the UPSC. I qualified. In between, a friend of mine who was very senior officer, though he was much senior to me, he was in some problem and he started searching a journalist. The journalist is now working with us. He was a Pulitzer nominee twice, and he had been editor of Washington Post. So they approached him. He was then editor of India Today. And he was very well known those days because he was classmate of then Indian Prime Minister. And we thought that he can help us. So that IAS officer actually wanted some appointment from him, and it took a lot of time. And finally, when we met, he solved the problem of IAS officer in 5 minutes. Then I realized, because I had no background, I told you, as I mentioned, then I thought that this career is better than the civil service. Because a senior IAS officer needs the help of this man, then better I should become a journalist. When I become journalist, after some time, that journalist wrote something against a very powerful politician. And because of that write-up, he was in soup and the proceedings were initiated against him in the High Court. So then we started going to a lawyer who later became judge and he retired as Chief Justice of India. So we started visiting him. And every day, whenever we visit, we had to wait. Then I decided that this is much better than journalism. And that's how I become lawyer. I tell you, that whatever I aspired in my life, like I wanted to see Amitabh Bachchan's movies, I wanted to see Sanjay Dutt's movies, I wanted to meet Lalu Prasad Yadav, I wanted to meet Jayalalitha, whomever I saw, I represented each and everyone, and they all visited my office. In Indian perspective, this is much bigger thing that at least at one point of time, 16 chief ministers were my client, and most of them were visiting me, including Mulayam Singh Yadav, who was UP chief minister. Lalu Yadav's wife was Bihar chief minister. He was railway minister. Then Jayalalitha was very powerful leader of Tamil Nadu. Then similarly, some Kerala leaders, some Maharashtra leaders. So that's how I realized that whatever my compassion was, that was fulfilled by this profession. If you are a successful lawyer, if you can actually, if you have the positive attitude, then you can do too many things. And I can say that I told you my background, that in that background we never had all those facilities. We can just see on the television. Even television was not available those days, because in India television actually started after 82. When this Asia game was there, then most of the people started buying TV, and one or two television was there at the population of 10,000. It's not, those days it was not an easy thing. Everybody had radio but not television. Gradually they had television, and then now all these modern gadgets are there. Even roads are in the better condition. Everything is fine nowadays. You see, that is something different. Even this telecast was cricket telecast was also known for this TV9 Kerry Paker's soap from Australia. It was not in India. It was not single camera shoot. You can't even see a cricket match on camera. So it was like that. Gradually, I realized that this is the much better career, and I enjoy this. I cherish this, and we have many opportunities. I am happy that many of my students, many of my younger brothers, many of my those days who were teens, now judges of High Court. So I like them, that they all have prospered, they all have grown, and this profession teaches you not to be jealous of the success of others, because your time will come. When you are not jealous, you are with positive mindset, your time will come and you will achieve whatever you want to achieve. Because every day we play a match, we argue a case, we lose or we win. We are from different sides. Then thereafter we go and have tea together, coffee together. So it teaches you that whatever is professional rivalry is, ultimately your success is that sitting together, talking to each other, enjoying each other's company. So you will not find the similar thing anywhere else. And it's a community living. Even in courtrooms, you will find 1,000 lawyers roaming. If you are a doctor, you may go to the OT, you may have your own 5-6 people staff, then you can go back to your home. In my opinion, I'm not saying it's a bad profession, it's a great profession, great, a noble service being a doctor, this noble service being a educationalist. But I tried too many things, and ultimately by trial and hit and error, I learned that this profession is most suitable for me. It may not be suitable for others, but this is most suitable for me, and then I joined it. Now I feel I don't regret that, and I am thankful to the God that he gave me this profession, and because of this I achieved too many things, which whatever I dreamed, that became true only because of this profession. So I am really grateful to God for this.
Thank you, sir, for your answer.
Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Namaskar, everyone. This is Shuchi Laha. I'm in grade 10th and hopefully soon 11 after the ongoing board examinations. I'm from Glory High School, Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh, and I've been integrated in this parliament as a member of the parliament. My question is to Mr. Pradeep Rai. Namaskar, sir. I'll be soon pursuing law as a subject, and this I had decided at the end of 8th grade itself. And one of the things which pushed me towards law is how laws or policies shape a society. Not only that, but how the authorities treat those laws and policies plays a huge role too. Recently, NCERT took a great step by introducing LGBTQIA+ friendly curriculum, which would have helped many students to gain acceptance of themselves and also would have made others more aware about queer people and help push back the regressed mindset about the same. However, this was later disapproved and removed. Marital rape is still not considered rape, and that's a huge problem. When we as young policymakers try to raise our voices about such issues, we are usually tuned out or asked to keep mum. I wonder, when will adults grow up to hold such conversations with us? And how do we make them listen to us?
Ms. Laha, what I feel that now I think in last 2-3 years, many things has changed. National Child Commission is there in place, you all know, and teens have every right to say whatever, and the schools are also even teaching their students, and even families are talking. It's not that families are not talking. There are several families which are, you see, India is a country of diversity. You find too many things, two kind of families, two different backgrounds. So in some backgrounds, it is available. They are talking. Some backgrounds, they are not talking. Somewhere you may find that the family is not even able to meet the means to survive even 2 meals a day. In some the families, you will find that they have too much and they are fighting with each other. Sometimes child suffer because of their different reasons. I know you what you are suggesting, at some extent it is right, but ultimately what you realize, you see, law evolves by the social pressure, and that's where you all come. If you raise all these voices, 100% law will evolve. You recall even this, most of you must have read the history. Sher Suri was a king, if you remember, who came after this Humayun. He defeated Humayun in 1540, in 1539 and 1540. That was Kannauj War. And thereafter, Sher Suri became the king of India. He ruled only 3.5 years. He made a road from Calcutta to Peshawar. He tried to evolve a revenue law. Even current laws of revenue, 2/3 of it is laws which was actually enacted or drafted by Sher Suri. Those days, you just think about it. Even this land acquisition part, that was actually idea of Sher Suri. He started giving compensation because those days from Calcutta to Peshawar, there was a road being constructed. That road is called GT Road. That road was constructed by him, and that roads, land owners and all, they got compensation by the emperor, and they can file an application. The language may be different, but each and every owner got a compensation. They created some trees, some dharamshalas, sarais, whatever. But my purpose of this is saying this is that whenever there is a pressure from society in regard to development of a law, you will find that law. There is a saying that whenever we need a law, it takes 100 years to enact it. Whenever we don't need it, it takes 100 years to finish it. Like so many laws, which is irrelevant, but we are not repealing it. Like personal choices, behaviors, and LGBTQ, whatever you say. But those laws actually were irrelevant after some point of time. Because if there are some acts which is nobody is offended by that, it is completely between the two parties, then how the state comes into the picture? It becomes your personal life. But you see, you tell me whether it was accepted in the US, whether it was accepted in any Western country. No. Gradually, they got educated. I have seen many protests in the UK where whenever they want to say something, they will just do naked protest. And I have witnessed few protests, and I asked them that why this naked protest? They say we get publicity. Media attention is there. Next day we will be on television. If we are doing like the news is, Aadmi ne kutte ko kaata, that is the news. If man bites the dog, that is the news. If dog bites a man, where is the news in this? So you create something. In my opinion, that whatever is the demand of the society, that converts into law. This is how the society grows. This is how society evolves. If you demand something, like if you want a phone in your family, sometimes your family may say, no, you are too young to have a phone. You all must be having phone. You must have recalled. But ultimately, because of your persuasion and your creation of need, it may not be needed actually, but it may be needed also because your virtual mode and all. So you got the phone, you got other things. Similarly, when you pressurize the government that no, this law is must, this law is required, you will get it. Obviously, like Facebook, Twitter, all these things, you don't have entered into the age where you can enter into some agreement or contract. But you all have accounts on social media. Many of you have Insta accounts or Facebook account and all, etc. And they know that you can't enter into an agreement. but they have your accounts. Ultimately, what I suggest, that whatever is the demand of the society, whatever is your demand, that should reflect in a larger number. And when the opinion is framed, then it happens. Like laws, you see, the Widow Remarriage Act, 1783 or something like that, when Lord William Bentinck, when in the British rule, he enacted a particular provision where this widows has to be remarried if they wanted. It was acceptance of widow remarriage. There is a law of Dowry Prohibition Act, that no person can take dowry. Is both of laws being implemented? No, because society is not accepting it. When society starts accepting that, social change is there, then only those laws will become relevant. So whatever you demand, whatever you say, but it has to be accepted by the society at large. When society accepts, it will become reality. When society does not accept, it will not be reality. Even if you have a law, it will not be implemented. Like 144 is there, but a protest is there of 20,000 persons. What will they do? They will just say that no, sir, please go, and now your protest is over. Only you can request. But if only 6 persons are going, they will arrest you. They will charge you under 188. They will book you. So that's how the system works. And any demand, if it is genuine, it has to be social support, and that social support transforms your demand into a law, and that law actually then thereafter, because of acceptance of the society, start being enforced. Otherwise, even if there is a law, it will never be enforced.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. I'm Arnav Goyal of class 10 from DPS Chandigarh. My question to you is that, are leaders good lawmakers or good law followers?
You see, earlier when our first parliament was there, most of the leaders had a wide experience. They had a passion for this country. They had sacrificed. They started fighting for the country when they thought that this country may and may not be free, because they didn't know that in 1947 we are going to be independent, and they were working. Most of them were very well aware people, law abiding citizens. They knew the law, they knew the fundamentals of very clear. But thereafter, gradually, because of the parliamentary democracy, we find some criminals, we find some uneducated, non-educated persons in the parliament. Sometimes we find, like, if you just recall the first cabinet, there it is, the concept is such that prime minister is first among equals. Means the power of prime minister and the power of other minister, there is no difference. When there is a cabinet meeting, and if the proposal is brought to the cabinet, all the cabinet colleagues, they can raise objections. And the purpose of raising objection is to make the thing, make the proposal, make the law, make the rules or decision more affluent, more people friendly, more in public welfare. So that was the concept. But gradually it happened that when a chief minister or prime minister is having this cabinet meeting, others are just keeping mum. They will say, okay, sign on page number 855, they will sign. They don't know what is written there. So what to do? The problem is that gradually it becomes dictatorial. And when you stop practicing the parliamentary democracy, which was actually adopted by us at the time of independence in the best interest of the country, then what to do? It happens. So in my opinion, most of the MPs have become followers, and especially after this People's Representation Act, in which the whip is there. Even if you oppose certain things, you have to vote in favor of your party. If you don't vote in favor of your party, you are disqualified. And we have seen there were less defections when there was this this act was not there. But nowadays there are, despite being a specific act that if you are defecting from your party, you will be disqualified. There are so many defections. But earlier there was no defection. So you have to consider each and everything while dealing with any issue. Now this member of parliaments, because of their education, you see our first Indian National Congress, 1885, headed by A.O. Hume. What was the education? almost 95% of the participants were postgraduate. Those days, 1885. Today, you find your parliament, just consider it, see it. Many of them are high school fail, many of them are years fail, many of them are undergraduate, many of them are uh, good, very well educated, but criminals. Some of them are good and very well educated. So our parliament is actually working. Not I say I don't not demeaning the parliament, but indirectly or directly, my purpose of saying is this, that this is the compulsion of parliamentary democracy, when people who have more experience but less educated, sometimes they are taking the decisions, and that may be good for the country because they want to do good for the country, but they are not able to do it because they are not competent. Suppose tomorrow they have to draft on PMLA, prevention of money laundering. They have never been to abroad. They don't know what is money laundering. They don't know what is terrorist activities. They don't know about Tata. They don't know what is organized crime. But they are drafting the law. They are in the select committee. They are in the parliamentary committee. They are selling Air India. They are selling Indian Railway. They have not done a business of even bullock cart. And India is a country, you all must realize that India is a country where many centuries travel together. Like you will find on the road, one person riding on the Ikka, Taga, one person on bullock cart, one person in Mercedes, other person in the bus, someone is lorry. So different centuries. Somebody is walking like 16th century, somebody is traveling in 18th century, somebody in 21st century, 22nd century, whatever. So different, because such varieties, a so wide spectrum, and because of that, it happens. So ultimately, we have to accept the reality, and we have to work for the betterment of countries where we have every right to be governed in a good manner, by a competent persons. That is also a fundamental right. In my opinion, if you are not being governed properly, if your fundamental rights are not protected at all, because you are electing a government, the government doesn't know how to work. That is a violation. You are electing your MP. So unfortunately, many of our MPs are not like this teen parliament. I will love that many of you, if you make a way in the parliament and you do good for the society, I will be very happy.
Okay, so
Good
thank
evening. Good evening, sir. I'm Sonal Gupta, a high school student from Delhi Public School Sector 45, Gurgaon, Haryana. Sir, I would like to ask you that as we've seen a lot of law series, that sometimes a person may have all the evidences and proofs against him, but the person is actually not guilty. So, have you experienced such kind of a situation, and how did you tackle it?
Okay, if you are asking this, I will tell you about a murder case.
Okay,
A
sir.
person died, he was burned at the house of his wife. When this person was brought to the police at the hospital, he made a statement, dying declaration against their in-laws, that they burned him because they didn't like the marriage. And this is the dying declaration. The person is dying, is making some statement. That statement has to be relied. And that has an evidentiary value. If there is no other evidence, even this declaration itself is enough to convict a person. So 4 of the in-laws family were convicted for life sentence. Matter was brought to the High Court. And then we started reading the files. We wanted to see the police diaries. We wanted to see the situation, maps and everything. And when we started reading that, we realized that there are around 100 persons in that village itself had made a statement that he burned himself because his wife was not going with him. And he said, I will punish you all, and I'm going to commit suicide. But when he went to the hospital, he made a statement against others. That statement was not part of the record, but in the police diary it was there. That you will realize when you will start practicing. And that's how those accused were who were convicted. They were already spent 9 years in jail. They were released. So it happens sometimes. So all the evidence means you can't have video recording of killing someone and all that. If those evidence are there, obviously you will be fixed. But if you have even this kind of evidence, dying declaration, and the person is there, he passed away, that itself is an evidence. So in those cases, sometimes it happens, and ultimately you will realize that your role, your thought process is very important.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, all the MPs. Thank you so much, Dr. Pradeep Rai, for taking out so much time for this parliamentary session. I hope that these teenagers had intrigued you with their questions. We are very happy that you shared so candid experiences with us, the kind of story of your life. I think that would have been quite inspiring for all the teen MPs here. We hope that in the course of time, the World Teen Parliament is able to get these teenagers recognition as legitimate stakeholders. We want their thoughts to be a part of policy making. And we hope that we get your support as well in this journey. Thank you so much once again for taking out the time today for the 5th parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. Just for everyone to know, these 100 MPs are in a process. They are not here just for this interaction. These 100 MPs are working throughout one whole year on the ideas that they think that they can improve the world with. And in this 1 year, we hope that they understand that how does a society really develop, proliferate, change, evolve. Because at the end of the day, the biggest challenge that the current generation faces is that we are technologically savvy, but as humans, we are getting dumb. So we hope that they understand humanity much more, they understand compassion much more, and they get to learn from people like you much more. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time today for the 5th parliamentary session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dakji. You are doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate it. And really, these parliamentarians are also very good. So your process of selection is extraordinary, and that shows that how hard work you have performed, and it's really nice. I congratulate you for organizing this, and really I appreciate. And I will write a letter to you also, appreciating this effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, all the MPs. Have an amazing weekend ahead. Namaste.
Thank you.